Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Ferdi Salvador. Join us as we explore the tools and insights you need to jumpstart your financial journey. Global economic growth is projected to remain at 2.8% in 2025, unchanged from 2024, held back by the top two economies, the U.S. and China. The World Economic Situation and Prospects report said that positive but somewhat slower growth forecasts for China and the United States will be complemented by modest recoveries in the European Union, Japan, and Britain, and robust performance in some large developing economies, notably India and Indonesia. India, the largest economy in South Asia, is forecast to grow by 6.6% in 2025 and 6.8% in 2026, driven by robust private consumption and investment. Europe was expected to recover modestly, with growth increasing from 0.09% in 2024 to 1.3% in 2025, supported by easing inflation and resilient labor markets. The report sees U.S. growth moderating from 2.8% last year to 1.9% in 2025 as the labor market softens and consumer spending slows. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said that historic winds that has worsened the fires were dying down somewhat, allowing for greater access to firefighters. But officials warned that wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour were forecast to persist throughout the day. The pair of massive wildfires menacing Los Angeles from the east and west were still burning uncontained on Thursday, 2 days after they ignited. But firefighters have managed to beat back another fire scorching the Hollywood Hills. Officials said at least 5 people have been killed, thousands of structures have been incinerated, and nearly 180,000 people have been ordered to evacuate their homes. The blaze has burned nearly 28,000 acres so far, an area exceeding the size of Disney World, and turning the entire neighborhoods to ash. The Palisades fire between Santa Monica and Malibu on the city's western flank and the Eaton fire in the east near Pasadena are already the most destructive in Los Angeles history.
The winds continue to be of a historic nature and a key factor of this firestorm. For much of Tuesday, the unprecedented winds prevented air operations to continue. However, as of yesterday, the winds have allowed for air operations, and that has enabled significant progress against the fires in Hollywood and Studio City last night. And as of 7:30 this morning, evacuation orders in Hollywood have been lifted. This is absolutely an unprecedented historic firestorm, but we are all hands on deck. We need to continue to cooperate. We need to evacuate when asked to do so. We need to help others, help our neighbors. And first and foremost, we need to stay united. We need to stay strong. A united LA is the way we will recover, is the way we rebuild our communities.
Today, we expect winds to subside somewhat, which will allow fire crews to increase containment lines. However, and I want to be very clear here as well, we are still under red flag warning with extreme fire behavior possibilities.
The Eaton fire remains estimated to be 10,600 acres, and growth has been significantly stopped. And we have 0% containment. We have over 879 firefighting personnel assigned, and mutual aid resources continue to arrive to assist with this firefight. We have several reported injuries and over 1,000 structures damaged and destroyed. The cause of the fire remains unknown, and it continues to be under active investigation. As I stated yesterday, as soon as a cause is determined, we will advise the media. The Lydia fire that started yesterday in Acton has been 40% contained, and forward progress has been stopped. It is limited to 348 acres.
All schools in LA have been suspended for Friday. A basketball game to be played by the LA Lakers was postponed, but the game of the Los Angeles Rams will proceed due to the fire. Ratings agencies said the most destructive wildfires ever for Los Angeles may cost billions of dollars in insured losses, though many homes are likely uninsured. Analysts at the Morningstar DBRS said Thursday the wildfires burning in the Pacific Palisades, Eaton, Hearst, and other Los Angeles neighborhoods may lead to insured losses of more than $8 billion. Moody's ratings also says expected insured losses to amount to billions of dollars given the area's high value of homes and businesses. JP Morgan on Thursday estimated insured losses at $20 billion. Meanwhile, 4 analysts told Reuters current conditions surrounding the fires in LA could spell an end to relatively cheap homeowners insurance there. While ahead of the week's disaster, its insurance costs were among the most affordable in the country. The scale of losses anticipated in the wildfires now ringing Los Angeles, as well as regulatory changes enacted last year, making insuring properties in areas like the Palisades at elevated risk for wildfires tougher and more expensive to secure. Consumer-friendly regulations in California have kept a lid on prices even in high-risk areas, but have prompted many insurers to scale back coverage. The U.S. federal government will cover 100% of the recovery costs of the Los Angeles fires response for 180 days. President Joe Biden said the national government will pay for issues such as debris and hazard removal and measures to protect life and property. He will also ask Congress for help in tackling the raging fires in Los Angeles. Its lawmakers will have to step up to provide more assistance in handling the situation.
So today I'm announcing that the federal government will cover 100% of the cost for 180 days. This is going to pay for things like debris and hazard material removal, temporary shelters, first responders' salaries, and all necessary measures to protect life and property. And folks, I want to underscore, I told the governor and local officials, spare no expense to do what they need to do and contain these fires and in their communities that have really been devastating. In the next little bit, we're going to be going back to Congress asking for some more help on some of this stuff. And I hope they're ready to step up because we can afford it. And like I said, we have a little infrastructure bill that's over $1 trillion. It's going to be able to help a little bit.
President-elect Donald Trump has pledged that he'll move immediately to reverse several actions undertaken by Biden through executive action and legal challenge. But he also fumed publicly about the efforts of the outgoing administration, accusing Biden of acting in bad faith and disrupting the smooth transfer of power. Biden has spent his final weeks in office looking to Trump-proof some of his biggest policy priorities, from environmental protections to Ukraine support and manufacturing subsidies. But the recent flap is most over Biden's move this month to ban offshore drilling in 625 million acres of U.S. coastal waters, where there is little industry to demand to begin with, as well as new standards for natural gas appliances and heating. More business and economy news from here and around the world in a moment. Stay on BNC and follow the money. Slovakia will adopt harsh reciprocal measures against Ukraine if the problem with halted gas transit through the country is not resolved. Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico accused Kyiv of damaging Slovakia, but not extending a gas transit deal with Russia to carry gas through Ukraine. He also threatened to retaliate by cutting emergency electricity supplies to Ukraine or reducing aid for refugees.
What can we do now? First, we can stop all humanitarian aid, even the one that was recently approved by the government of the Slovak Republic, where we had on the table a bunch of demining equipment, heavy excavators, and other things that were intended as non-lethal aid for Ukraine. If Mr. Zelensky does not have an issue with throwing into the bin 800 million that Ukraine would otherwise get for gas transit, and at the same time extends his hand to ask for billions from the EU, it can happen that some politicians stand up to it and say no. I have to announce that I have to take into account that the right of veto exists, which I could of course use if needed. Not to mention of other measures where unanimity is required in relation to Ukraine.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has accused FICO of opening a second energy front against Ukraine on the orders of Russia. Russia says countries in Europe that wanted to buy more competitive Russian gas after its supplies via Ukraine were halted on January 1 after expiry of the previous transit deal. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Thursday he had secured Slovakia's gas supply during a visit to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow last month, just before Ukraine halted the transit of gas from Russia at the start of 2025.
There are still countries in Europe that are interested in receiving more competitive Russian natural gas, and these countries want to buy it. The supply of such gas can make the economy of these countries more competitive.
Bloomberg reports the camp of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has already begun setting up a meeting with Putin. Here at home, the trade deficit narrows by less than 0.1% to $4.8 billion in November. This is according to the data from the Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA. This is lower than the $5.8 billion deficit in October, and the narrowest in 3 months. The PSA attributes the low deficit to the decline of exports by 8.7% and imports by 4.9%. An analyst says the Philippines is likely to be insulated from the impact of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's planned tariffs. HSBC economist for ASEAN, Aris Dakanay, believes the Philippines is the most resilient among the South Asian economies in the face of the proposed policy. Dakanay points out that the country's export of goods has minimal exposure to the U.S., with only Vietnam and Thailand facing significant risks from possible U.S. tariff increases. Trump has earlier pledged a 10% universal tariff and a 60% tariff on Chinese goods. In corporate news, the Board of Investments has approved the 2.35 billion peso project of Bilyonaryo Enrique Razon's International Container Terminal Services to modernize the Iloilo commercial port. The approval comes with incentives as the project is entitled to income tax holiday for 3 years, followed by 5 years of enhanced deduction and duty-free importation of equipment under the CREATE Act. The project will transform the old Iloilo commercial port complex into a state-of-the-art facility to help drive economic growth in the Visayas region. The project is expected to create over 3,000 jobs that will directly and indirectly benefit the region and other related industries. The Philippine Tobacco Institute, or PTI, is calling on lawmakers to review the current tax system to help curb the illegal tobacco trade. Speaking at the Senate Committee on Ways and Means hearing, PTI President Jericho Nograles highlights that the illegal tobacco trade is fueled by untaxed cigarettes being sold at lower prices than legal products. While he acknowledges the efforts of the Bureau of Internal Revenue, Bureau of Customs, and the Department of Trade and Industry to fight illegal trade, he emphasizes more has to be done to address the problem effectively. The Villar group of companies led by the politically active Villar family is denying claims that it owes over 200 million pesos in unpaid real property taxes in Las Piñas. The allegations came from Las Piñas City Councilor Mark Anthony Santos, who is accusing the company of failing to pay 213.5 million pesos in taxes. Santos, who is running for Congress against Senator Cynthia Villar in the upcoming May midterm elections, is calling for accountability from the company. In response, the Villar Group is describing the allegations as erroneous, misleading, and politically motivated. The company says that they've already paid 151.8 million pesos in taxes as of November, including advance payments for real property taxes last year. On the lighter side, they say a dog is a man's best friend, but for many people living with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, the demands of caring for a dog or pet can be a challenge. But Genie, which has been wowing crowds at CES 2025, is designed to change all of that. A lifelike robot yellow Labrador puppy from Tombot is designed to provide companionship and unconditional love for those who are unable to look after a real animal on their own. Jenny responds to touch and voice commands and even wags its tail. Tombot's technology offers continuous new behaviors, preventing users from experiencing repetitive interactions with the robotic puppy. This companion can alleviate behavioral and psychological symptoms such as loneliness, anxiety, and depression.
With traditional objects, most seniors don't care for them, maybe 1%. Research on robotic animals show they significantly outperform those traditional objects and have the added benefit of reducing pain and the need for pain medications. Over 40 years worth of peer-reviewed data show that where a senior with dementia can form a robust emotional attachment to an object, traditionally that's a human baby doll or a stuffed animal, that senior gets a great deal of relief from their behavioral and psychological symptoms, so loneliness, anxiety, depression. So these puppies are designed to treat the behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia, reduce the need for certain medications, including psychotropics, and we aim for them to be the first FDA medical devices.
So people talk about loneliness and isolation, but they're actually two different things. Loneliness is the feeling of not having social contacts. You could be in a 500-bed facility or in a community of many, many people, and you could still be lonely if you don't have those social connections. Isolation is the circumstances of really being distant from others. So this is a device that one would think could solve for feelings of loneliness.
I love it. When I was young, I had a dog, and with modern life, it's difficult in the town to have a dog.
Tombot plans to start fulfilling orders for Genie later in 2025. The product will be available for direct purchase by consumers at a one-time price of $1,500 or via rental models for institutions such as assisted living facilities. And that is it for today's edition of Follow the Money. I'm Ferdi Salvador. Thanks for watching. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on top.